Anyway,
I like
Primo
it.
has been working, he does amazing things with nothing, kind of. And he has since become the darling of a lot of the startup culture in Silicon Valley. His practice has gone very broad, helping, I think he's doing hospitality design, he's done residential as well. But his sweet spot right here, and where his reputation is making technology in Silicon Valley look like technology in Silicon Valley. So with that, I'm going to give you to Primo.
Thanks. Thank you, Brett. We designed this space. Unfortunately, that bathroom, I don't know what happened to the women's restroom, but sorry about that. It happened about 5 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. Fortunately, it didn't dump all over the place, so we have one stall. So I would go to the Blue Bottle or 54 Mint. They have restrooms there. So before I get started, I just want to say thank you on Worktech for putting this event together. It was kind of a struggle to find this. It was a last-minute change, so we apologize for everybody having to shift to this site. First site didn't work out. And this is, one of the typical spaces. We work and live in this area. This is about 17 years we've been in this neighborhood, and we've seen it from basically nothing to now mid-market to all these companies coming down. And I started my career in the Valley. I didn't start it up here. I started it down in Sunnyvale, doing very simple TIs, doing very simple space plan, helping facilities managers actually manage and strategize space. And at that time, it was very different. So we're going to show you today, we've got 4 big concepts I want to cover. Normally, I do this talk, and I talk about 10 different topologies. You're going to see a lot of that topology in here, but I'm not going to speak to that today. I'm going to talk about a little bit broader concepts, and the reason I want to do that is because we can get very granular, but these are 4 things you might want to think about. So from the first slide, we're going to talk about the versatile workplace, and I don't know how many of you have seen this latest article. It's on the cover, it's on the newsstands now. Has anybody seen this? Okay. So I usually do this talk, and I have like 16 covers, and it's all about workplace, and they're all within a 2-month span. So right now, it's top of mind. Everybody is really, really, they understand the workplace is a big part of the business. It's a big part of motivation. It's very aspirational. The whole notion that you have to attract and retain has become a big deal. And for some of the older companies, it's like this is the red flag that things are changing. We've got a new generation of workforce coming in. What do we have to do to make our companies, to make our culture and community thrive? It's no longer a workforce. A lot of these people are looking for work at these companies. No longer, it's not about a paycheck. They're doing their life's work, and they really need to get behind these companies. So a lot of what we do is tell that story through the interiors. So I think that's the aspirational. Those are the good things that can come from interiors, not just flow, function, programmatical things, but it can also be sort of the siren, or it basically tells the employee or the people coming to the space what this company is, what their values are, what their sensibilities are. Am I going to be embraced? Am I going to be welcome here? Or is this one of those companies where I'm here, you are there? So the first big concept I'm going to talk about is brand, and the project I'm going to show is Yelp. We just finished this project about 6 months ago. And basically the proposition here is that Yelp they deal with mom and pop merchants. They have this whole community of Yelpers that jump on the site, that write reviews, so you have this back and forth, and the people that are really they're serving are the merchants. These are small mom and pop stores. They're kind of reliant on these reviews. So what better way to honor who they work for, but to actually bring it into the interiors. So here's actually the coffee shop. This coffee shop is on their main floor. It's their all-hands area. It's where they serve their food, and they have 3 meals a day. Plus they have a little pub, plus they have a barista. And this barista is made up of people that actually are on Yelp. So this would be Blue Bottle or 4 Barrels. We change it every quarter. We keep it fresh. This whole kiosk is designed to basically switch out so the vendors that they are on the site are actually able to participate and work with the Yelp employees. So it's a nice way of integrating the brand with the people they serve. It's a very interesting floor plate. I don't know if you know 140 New Montgomery. 140 Montgomery is like built in the 1920s. It's an Art Deco Fluger building. It's actually beautiful. It gets light all the way around. Very, very As John Liu, the facilities manager, would tell you, it's a challenge. It was a 1920s building that came pretty much raw, and we made it, the Yelp headquarters. And I think it really speaks to their culture. So on the first floor, when you get off the lobby, the whole notion of the merchant is reiterated through this. Pretty much the general store was the concept here. The idea that this is who they serve, let's make it a big part of the experience. So we created the general store. A lot of this marketing and this material was actually developed by the Yelp employees, so it's kind of a nice touch tone there. But the space is really meant to feel like a general store. And these little conference rooms, they have branding. One looks like a little tool shop, the other looks like a little bookstore. Again, speaking to the merchant, speaking to the brand, without overtly putting, this is what we're doing. It's more subtle. And that's what we'd like to do in this space, so that it's speaking to you on many different levels. This is a nice picture of one of the private conference rooms. There's small little phone booths. That's the topology we call it. But this door is actually from the Pac Bell building. So we actually reclaimed all the doors in the project and recycled them back in the project. So this way we can tie back to the history of the building. We also feel that it's interesting, but this is a vertical campus. And most tech companies like to be on one floor plate, at most two. We're actually on 12 floors. So that makes it a little bit of an issue getting to the coffee teapot or any of the places that you need to go get refreshments. So we have developed a micro kitchen on each floor. And each micro kitchen is different. The point of it is being that these are not just tucked away in the core and just you throw a white laminate and a coffee pot there and that's it. You make them special. And again, it's talking about the brand and the quality of the sort of the service that they give. We also like to make sure that people can work anywhere. So we create little spaces that can be like impromptu meeting spaces. This picture on the left happens to be on engineering. It is a kitchenette. But the idea that you can actually sit and you have a little lecture there. So the amphitheater seating, the doors can close off. There's a projector there. On the right side is one of our shelter topologies, which is, it's an open, non-bookable space. So it's not quite a lounge piece. It's actually furnished. It's furnished, but it's got a surround. So it's got a little bit of separation. There's a typical work area. This is on a sales floor. We put up just screens to create little niches to meet. So creating these little varieties of spaces is what really make this work, because this is only a 12,000 square foot plate, but we still create little places to go, this variety of places to go during your workday. Again, just any accessible, any place, if we can make it usable, we will put a chair there, we will put a bench by the window. We want people to use that. We don't typically put any officing on the window line. We want to keep the light available to everybody. Yes. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Whoa. Oh, hey. That's it. Microphone check. So here's a close-up of the kiosks that can be interchanged with different vendors. And we set it up with 3-compartment sink. All the hookups are back there, so as vendors come in, it's just very simple for them to bring their stuff in and operate. So it's not a single source. Yeah. So, okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? No. Hello? See, I wanted the Madonna mic, so. Okay. Hey. Yeah, I'll take that.
It's on.
It's on.
They control it back there.
Hello? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to run through these. There's 60 slides, and I have like 20 minutes, so. Okay, so upstairs, this is our main all-hands area. And the idea is that we want this to be a destination. You're going to have lots of different activities here. This is like the high school multi-purpose room. Yes, you can have your lunch, you can have your 3 meals a day, but you're also going to have events. You're going to have lunch and learns. That's very popular in tech, is that you bring somebody in, or you have people from the company speak. So we want to make sure that's available to them. So I would think of this as more like a multi-purpose room that can be reconfigured, but a lot of time of the day, it's just going to be set up with these chairs, and people will be working there, and they'll also be having lunch there or just socializing. It's important that the quality of the detail be there too. It does feel like hospitality and restaurant for a reason. We want people to, feel like this was deliberate. We didn't just put a bunch of folding chairs from Costco in there and a couple of tables. We actually thought about all the fixturing, so it does have a very hospitality feel to it. And also, you have to have beer.
They have lots of beers. They have like 3 beers or 3 beer stands that can actually rotate. So the Yelpers are very into their beer. And I don't know if they still have the application, but the way they monitor it is you actually had to write a review every time you poured. So, you know, if somebody's wrote like 12 reviews in a day, you might want to check on that guy. Okay, so we're moving on now to Cisco. This is actually when we started the company, it was called Meraki. And Meraki was a small startup in the Mission. And a lot of what you're seeing here, there's a little nod to where they came from in the Mission. This ledger ceiling, we're in a brand new tilt-up concrete in Mission Bay. So we actually needed to make it feel a little bit more rough and ready. So this ledger ceiling is really speaking to the warehouse they came out of in the Mission. We also like to, this concept here is going to be more about invisible technology. You know, router boxes aside, there are little things you can do to make a space more functional. And we're going to see some slides that show that. Okay, so this is the floor plate. This is 90,000 feet. And they have 2.5 floors now, Chris. I think, you know, they're growing like crazy. And they actually, all these configurations here, kind of the nice thing about it, these spaces where all the workstations are, they have, they're on raised floor. So what that enables you to do, and the desks are not tethered to a single spline. They are actually freestanding sit to stand. So if you want a free range scenario, this is probably the best way to do it because you can, what we did was we laid out the wiring and cabling below so that it could be configured any which way. So as you go around the floor plate, you will actually see different configurations because engineers want to, on the fly, be able to reconfigure. So it's not connected to the spline. It does help to have a raised floor, so you don't have to worry about pigtails going up or down, and you can actually just plug in anywhere on the floor. We all also feel it's important when you are in a 2-story space that there is some connectivity between the floors. So we have these punch-outs. There's a post-tension slab, but we were able to create these nice atriums, and also on the other side we put a really nice staircase. Kind of using every inch of the space as workable space or lounge space so that people can get close to the windows. What you're seeing here is actually a little banquette that we put into the concrete panels. So it's actually very, very acoustically sound. So when you sit back in that, when your head breaks past the opening, it actually knocks down the acoustic because all the noise gets caught up in the phone behind you. So you can actually take a phone call without closing a door behind you. We like to think about, you know, these are also some very, very, you can't see it, but there's a lot of what I would say analog technology. That soft surface above the conference room on the right is actually basically auto, it's 1-inch thick auto insulation that you'd see in the back of a trunk. When you walk through and you get into that area, it actually soaks up the sound. You're seeing some tectum tile in this big all-hands area. So there's some ways that we can kind of mitigate a lot of the reverberation that you have with open plan. I think also the idea of shelters. These are also, they have power, they have easy way to get USB ports, but they're real simple shelters, a non-bookable shelter that you have available. So you'll see people working in them. You'll see a lot of people that actually come from their workstation, don't even use the conference, so they'd rather sit in these. This is a library, and we have a library for couple of reasons. It's nice to have a heads down work area, and sometimes you want to do heads down work with a couple of people. But the notion that the library is the protocol means that you do quiet work. It's not like the open plan where you just, it's a free-for-all. When you go to the library, you work quietly. So we call this the library. We usually have these in our projects. They are in the middle of Mission Bay, so they don't have all the amenities from being in the urban core, so we kind of create the coffee shop, the bakery shop, the pastry shop. So to see to the right, you're seeing some of that activity. So they don't have baristas. They have like 5 different coffee machines because they're nuts about their coffee. And then we do have pastries brought in, so it feels like a retail shop within their facility. It is a 90,000 square foot plate, so getting everybody back to the lunchroom or to the all hands area is tough. So we put a satellite coffee shop, but we make that coffee shop feel special. And we put special foods there. We don't duplicate the food in the coffee shop that we would put in our main dining area. These little rooms here are basically phone booths or little tiny conference rooms. We do more and more in these days because people have more 1, 2, 3 meetings. So rather than taking a phone call and taking up a 20-person conference room, which is typically what you see in older officing, we provide lots of these spaces. And then anywhere is a place that you might have an idea. So we want to make sure that the furnishings, we want to make sure that the whiteboarding, access to this more analog technology is there. So whiteboarding is a big part. Some people like to work on electronic screens. Most of our clients don't, because the feedback from working on whiteboards is very different than working on a smartboard. Okay, so rushing, we are going to Capital One. This is actually really a fun piece for Capital One. This is a new concept for them, sort of concierge banking. This is down on Kearney Street, and it's actually above where the it used to be ING. It's on the second floor. So this space is actually purpose-built, and they have engaged somebody from the Stanford D School. In fact, they work for Capital One now, that this would be a design thinking. So it's purpose-built for design thinking. So the concept here is that you'd come and the executives would learn about design thinking. So it's very malleable. It's made almost like the Stanford D School, so that when you come in there, you get this sense, wow, anything can be changed. This is not the typical, in Western Virginia, and they probably have training rooms all over the place. It's probably not like this training room. So it feels a little bit like some of our startup design, and it's because it's supposed to. It's supposed to feel like that bootstrapping, this can be done, this is all possible and very flexible. So we use really nice, actually that's recycled jean material. We have lots of little nooks and crannies in which to work. We have this place where if there's a bad executive, they go sit up in the nest, and we put a curtain over them. No, actually, that's just another point of view. We want people to think differently, and climbing up a ladder and going to a niche is a great way to take them out of kind of their normal routine. Bikes, lots of bikes in the city. Okay, so we're now at Uber. Uber, we just finished probably 6 months ago down at 1455 Market. Again, we're going to kind of switch. The concept here is very purpose-built, and it's beyond office and collaboration. So we know the notion of open plan. We actually, there's open plan here, but you're going to see all the supporting pieces to open plan. This is another gigantic footprint. Steve, how big is this? 90,000 again. So it's like a football field, and there's only 2 sets of windows. So it's actually very dark toward the core. But you can see there's lots of little rooms and places to go. So we make sure that when you come through the lobby, obviously it's kind of like the Uber black car concept. That's the whole notion that we're designing by, that the attainable luxury quality of Uber. This is right when you come in, you're kind of greeted with these like great lounges and spaces to hang out. So it almost feels like you're checking into a hotel. It's very refined. I think in terms of technology companies, it's extremely kind of sophisticated, so they're really upping the game. So we've got like really nice laser cut metals. These are actually beautiful Knoll stations with a little bit of custom detailing on the end. And this is got a lot of these conference rooms and all these pieces I'm showing you are kind of like everybody has open plan, but you need all the supporting pieces. And I won't get into any detail, but you're seeing all the supporting pieces. And you're seeing kind of the level of detail that we're putting in these areas. So they have their own coffee shop. They love to work in coffee shops, so we just put one on their floor plate, and it's right next to the workstations. And this is the biggest touchscreen you've ever seen, so it's like you can actually move it with your thumb, and you can go zoom in and out, and it shows all the cars around the world, Uber kind of like streaming into that big screen. So there's like this great contact or connection with what they do as a business. Little shelters, little quiet shelters, lots of different finishes, open conferencing. So we have varieties, and they all feel different, so we're not trying to stamp this design concept. I'm going to probably wrap it up on this one because I just got the 1-minute flash sign, so I'm taking too long on these 60 slides. But it's refined. This is actually another conference room, and you can see how different each one, they kind of get better and better, but every time you go, it's more like a journey to these great spaces, and you want to use these spaces. Leather, don't use leather very much, but when you do it, it's great because we branded it. That's actually the map application when you see it flashing on your iPhone. I think I'll stop there. This is our office, but maybe we'll have a tour at our office at some point. Thank you.